Okay, so we'll get started on the review. I am recording this, so if you want to watch it tonight to prepare for the test tomorrow, that's your choice, but it will be available on Canvas. Okay?
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
Okay, so you'll just have to make it up when you come back. All right, first question says graph the relation. So what you would do to graph this is you would have just provided a graph where it's 1, 2 is the first point, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2. Okay, so you don't need to put a line through it. This is just a relation. It's not an actual equation or a function. It's just a relation. The question is this relation a function? What do we know? What can we do to show that it is? Vertical line test. So yeah, there's only one point. If I do a vertical line through every one of those points, it only passes through one y value for every one of the x's. So this is a function. Yep. And so the answer here is yes. Okay. Next one, I do 3, and I'm just going to call this 20 here on the y, just to make things a little easier. So that's very bad. Okay, so 3 and 23. So this is 20. I'm just going to go up 1 to make it 0 still, because I still have a 0 here. So I'll just go up by tens. 1, 2, 3, 10, 23. What am I doing? 1, 2, 23, 1, 2, 3. How about that? Okay. 22 is going to be a little less than that, and 23. So 22, 5, 10, 20. God. Let's try this. There's 3. 22, 23, 10, 23. I'll get this down. 21 and 3. 0 and 23. And 1 and 3. Function? Yes. That was painful. But yes, this is a function. Because there's only, for every x, there's only one y. It passes the vertical line test. So if I put a vertical line through each one of these points, it's only going to go through that point, that y value one time. One time, one time. So it would not be a function if I had the number 23 mapped to both 23 and 3. Because if I did that, well, actually let's just do another example. If I map 1 to 2 and 1 to 3, if I map 1 to 2 different y values, this will not pass the vertical line test. It'll go through twice. The vertical line test, it says it can only go through that point, or that y value one time, or x value one time. Does that make sense? So this would be an example if I did 1, 1 and 1, 3 in a table, and I plotted those, that would not be a function. It's still a relation, it just doesn't qualify as a function. Questions on those two? Now that I figured out what I'm doing? Okay, evaluate f of x equals 2 times x squared minus 4 plus 1 when x equals 0. So what's the process here?
You plug in 0.
You plug in 0. Yes. So what I could really write this as is f of 0. That's how I say that, f of 0, which just means y when x is 0. That's what f of 0 means, y when x is 0. Okay, because this is really the same as y. It's just a way that we can use the notation and tell you what we want you to plug in for x. Okay, this is not f times 0 or f times x. This is just function notation, and this would be when x is 0. So I'm going to plug that in. 2, 0 minus 4 plus 1. Well, 2 times negative 4 plus 1 is negative 8 plus 1, negative 7. When you're watching this, one thing I might recommend you do, especially if you didn't do the review, is to pause the video, try the problem yourself, and then watch me do it, and check your work. Because it's one thing to watch me do it, and everybody goes, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's another thing when you actually have to do it without any help. which is what a test is. Okay, so it would be really helpful if you watch this video, every question before I start talking about how to do it, pause it, you try it yourself, then watch it and check your work. And if you don't understand or you didn't get it right, go back and figure out what concept you're not understanding and learn that concept so you're ready for the test. Does that seem like a smart way to do it? Yes, it is. Okay. Graph the equation. This is in slope-intercept form. What's the easiest way to graph in slope-intercept form? What do you do? What's the process?
Just lay it out.
What do you start at?
Your y-intercept.
Start at your y-intercept. Y-intercept is 3. And then use what to find your second point?
Your slope.
Your slope. And what does negative 2 mean in terms of direction
Down.
from this point? Down 2 over 1. Don't forget it's 2 over 1. So I'm going to go down 2 over 1. How many points do I need to draw a line? 2. I only need 2 points. So I've got my first point from my y-intercept, my second point from the slope. If I want to make it a little nicer, I could go down 2 over 1 again and down 2 over 1 again for a while just to connect the dots, but I really only need 2 points. Okay? Once I have this, I just extend it in both directions. Sometimes rulers help. I've just graphed the line. Does it go down from left to right? Yes, so I can confirm it does have a negative slope. Okay. Next question. Write the equation of the line that has the given properties. The slope is negative 1/2 and the point is negative 4, negative 3. So where should I start here? Okay, so I'm going to just write y equals mx plus b. What do I have?
You have your slope of negative 1 over 2.
Okay.
And then you can plug in negative 4 and negative 3 for your x.
Okay, so I have y, m, and x, but I don't have b, so that's what I need to solve for. So I go negative 3 equals negative 1/2 times negative 4 plus b. Well, what's negative 1/2 times negative 4?
That's 2 fingers. That's 1. 2. I mean,
Stop.
Positive 2. Positive 2. So I have negative 3 equals 2 plus b. Subtract 2. B is equal to negative 5. So now I know the slope and I know b, so I'm just going to rewrite it into the equation. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus minus 5. Have that process down?
yeah.
Guarantee there'll be a problem like this on the ACT.
I thought you were going to say the test. I'm like, well.
Well, yeah. No, I'm saying what I want you to see is everything you're learning here is going to help you when you actually have to take that test. So knowing how to do this, it's not a hard process, but doing it repeatedly really helps you learn it. And now you know how to find the equation of a line if you're given the slope and a point on that line. Okay? Now the next question, we have to find the slope. They give us 2 points, but we have to find the slope first. 0 minus 5, negative 5 minus 0, the slope is 1. What else am I given here?
If you're given a point.
Oh,
I'm given 2 points.
So, wait,
wait, isn't it if like it's a 0, that's where the intercept is?
Yep. So which one?
5.
Oh, wait, no, that'd be
It's
either
no,
5 or negative 5.
Because it would be 5 because your y is 5.
Okay, this was a huge moment for me right now. That a couple of you saw that. Okay, because we start getting into the process, and the process is once you find the slope, then you pick one of these points and you plug it into y equals mx plus b, and you solve for b, and then you rewrite the equation. Okay? ACT is notorious for this kind of problem too. If you can recognize that one of the points they give you is the y-intercept. It is the y-intercept. That is b. Because the y-intercept happens when x is 0. So I'm given a point where x is 0, so I know that is b. I just saved myself 15 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot. But over the course of 60 questions, I promise there's going to be harder questions than this one. And if you can find little tricks like this where they give you the y-intercept, but they don't tell you that's what it is, you have to remember when x is 0, that is my y-intercept. Okay? So I know the equation. Now,
So then the x-intercept would be 5?
Wow.
Or negative 5?
That,
No, just 5.
that took me a long time.
does that, have you wrapped your head around it now? Everybody click with that? Now, if you didn't recognize it, could you find it? Yes. So now let's go through the process, just for those of us that didn't see that right away. Let's just pick a point. Let's pick this point. We're going to plug this in for x and y. Okay? So 0 equals 1, which is my slope, times negative 5 plus b. Negative 1, or 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. I add 5. And what is b? 5, which is what it is.
Wait, what if you did it the other way though? When you just look at
Nope. If I did it the other way,
I forget how it changes the box.
y is 5, x is 0.
Why is negative? Wait, wait.
The other point, y is 5, not negative 5.
Oh wait, we just did negative 5?
Yep, we did negative 5 before. I get 5 the same way. I get 5 for b,
Never mind.
no matter what point I use. But the point is, if you had just recognized that as the y-intercept, you just saved a lot of time. This is the answer for that question. Okay, write an equation of the line that passes through 5, 5 and is parallel to this line. So what do I need to do to figure out the equation of a line that's parallel? I need the slope. Okay, the long way is to create a slope-intercept equation here. That's the long way. The short way is to remember the formula for slope when it's in standard form.
Negative a over b.
Negative a over b. Negative a over b. So what is the slope of this line?
2 over 2.
Negative 2 over negative 2,
So positive 1.
positive 1. I just saved myself 15 more seconds. Okay, if you don't remember that, this is what you get to do. You take 2x minus 2y equals negative 3. I subtract 2x, divide by 2, and now I can see the slope is 1. Okay, that took time. Or I just say negative a over b, slope is 1, done. I don't have to do any more. 1 and done. Okay, either way, you get the same answer. One's just faster than the other. Okay, now that I know the slope, if it's parallel, what do I know about the new line? Same slope, right? And I'm given a point. So now this is identical to this problem now. I'm given the slope. The slope is 1 because it's parallel. And I know it passes through the point 5, 5. So I take 5 equals 1 times 5 plus b. What is b?
0.
0. So the equation of my line,
Well, you see, you move your 5 over.
and there's the equation. Y equals x. Because there's no b. Plus b is 0, so it's just y equals x. The slope was 1.
Put y equals x plus 0.
Yeah. But you don't need to put that plus 0.
Wait, are we? I just did that.
We're doing this one.
Oh.
Okay, let's move on to number 8. What's the slope of the line for number 8?
Okay, so this.
2.
It's 1/2. So what does the slope of the line perpendicular to that need to be? Negative 2. So I do negative 4 equals negative 2 times negative 2 plus b. Negative 4 equals 4 plus b. Subtract 4. b equals negative 8. So now I can write the equation. Y equals negative 2x minus 8. This is the answer.
Oh, yeah, I see. Sounds about right.
Okay. Next two are graph inequalities. So the first one, well, this is x is greater than or equal to negative 3. When you graph inequalities, There are 4 steps. The first step, graph it as if it were an equation. The second step, figure out whether that line needs to be solid or dashed.
It's gonna be a solid.
Third step,
Shading.
yes, there's really 3 steps. I guess the third step you could say plug in a number and determine which side makes it true. And then the 4th step would be to shade that side.
And the number that you plug in is something
I
that's
always-
not touching the line?
Yes, I always use 0, 0, unless 0, 0 is on the line. Then you have to pick a point that's not.
Like if it's yes, you go with 0.
Yeah, if 0 makes it true, then 0 has to be in the shaded area.
Okay, I always forget that.
If 0 makes it true, 0 must be in the shaded area. Okay, so let's do this one. What's the equation of x equals -3? What does that look like on a graph? On an xy coordinate
So
plane?
it's like
Straight
this.
up.
Yeah, it's a vertical line. A vertical line that goes through -3. 1, 2, 3. It's solid. That's step 2. Now, I could plug in 0, 0, but really you're saying all x values that are greater than or equal to -3. There's my shading.
It all makes sense. Wait, what did you do with the Y?
There's no y in the first one.
Sorry, I was thinking on number 10.
Okay, let's do number 10. So we're going to solve this for y because we want it in the form y equals mx plus b to make it easier to graph. So what I could do is subtract 1, and I see 2y is less than, right, x minus 1. I just flipped this. Some of you missed that on the last quiz when you have y on the right. You don't recognize, if I said 3 is greater than y, that's the same that as y is less than 3, not greater than 3.
Isn't it a
Would it be
negative?
the same thing if you...
There's no negative here.
No, but like if you're switching the x over, like subtracting the x over, would it be a negative?
Well, but if I'm not going to subtract the x over because that's where the y is, I'm trying to get y by itself.
Yeah, when
The
I,
only time you have it, if I were to subtract the, okay, so I have 2y is less than x minus 1, right? Let's go ahead and subtract the y over and get negative 2y, then subtract the x is greater than negative x plus 1, right? When I divide by negative 2, I get, let's just divide by negative 1 so I can match it with this one. If I divide by negative 1, I get 2y is less than x plus, or x minus 1 when I divide everything by negative 1. It's the same thing. So what might help you in the future when you see a problem like this, if y is on the right, just totally switch it around first before you start anything and make y on the left. Okay, and when you do that, just remember the sign has to switch when you do that with you. It has to all flip over. Okay, so now I've got this. I just flipped it. 2y plus 1 is less than x. I just wrote that. Now I'm going to divide by 2. So y is less than 1/2 x minus 1/2. Right? That's what I'm going to graph. So where do I start?
negative 1/2.
Negative 1/2. Then I go up 1 over 2. There's my second point. Is it going to be solid or dashed? Dashed. Okay, now I've got to figure out the shading. So I'm going to plug in 0, 0 because I can see 0, 0 is not on this line. If I plug 0, 0 in, I get 0 is less than 0 minus 1/2. Or 0 is less than negative 1/2. Is that true?
No, would be
No.
opposite.
So that means 0, 0 is not included in the shading. What is everything on the other side.
This is complicated.
Graph it. I would recommend you watch this again. Absolutely. And stop it, try it, start it, check it, and so on.
How do you record the screen too?
It's magic. I don't really know. No, it's an app on the Starboard that's a screen recorder, so everything that I'm saying and then everything I'm writing records into one file. Kind of cool. And all teachers have access to it.
Why don't they use it?
It's a good question.
Like your
I ask
history
all the
teacher.
time. Okay, Next one. What kind of a function is number 11?
Absolute value.
What is it going to look like when I'm done? A V. Thank you. So no one on the test is going to draw a line, right? No one will draw a line. Well,
If it's an absolute value.
okay, so using transformations that we learned, what does the 1/2 tell you?
Oh wait, no.
What's the 1/2 in front of the absolute value tell you? What is it? What does it?
Oh, it
Represent on the graph.
It's the size of the V.
Yep, same thing. Size of the V or the slope. And by the size of the V, if it's greater than 1, that V is going to stretch up and it's going to be a steeper slope. If it's less than 1, it's going to compress it down, so it's going to be a wider. And one thing I could tell you on graphing these, what is the 2 going to tell you?
Left
It's gonna
two.
go left,
Be careful.
Right.
Be careful.
It's gonna go left two.
Neither one.
No, up. What?
Yes, remember, this is what it looks like.
What's the other one?
That's the V.
That's when I start at.
That number, whatever it is, will tell you right or left. Whatever's inside the absolute value. What is that number in our equation?
0.
0. X plus 0, x minus 0, whatever, it's 0. So it does not move this way. So what I can do is identify my vertex from this equation. My vertex is HK. Well, what's H here?
1.
0. What's K? 2. So there's my vertex. This tells me the slope of my line. So I'm going to go up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. That gives me the right side. My V now just mirrors that across the y-axis. Okay? And now I can draw it. There's my absolute value for this function.
I almost shaded for that one. I don't know why. I was on a roll
Who are
for
you gonna
shading.
Everybody follow how to graph those.
Almost.
Do you not? Oh, never mind.
No shading, it's not an inequality.
Yeah, you only shade if it's like.
Yeah.
Okay. This one should have been really easy. What's the domain of this function? -3, that's it.
Yep.
Domain, one of those little things. There's,
Doesn't matter if we do parentheses or swigglies.
yeah, you should use squigglies, but I'm not going to count it off on the review. Because the parentheses, yeah, the parentheses tell you an interval. The squigglies tell you exactly
You just wrote D
equals
domain
is 3. Or, yeah, that's fine. Okay, what's the range?
3 to 0, or 0 to 3.
So it's 3, 2, 1, 0. Exactly. It's not anything between those. It's not 3.1 or 2.7. It's just 3, 2, 1, 0. Those exact integers. That's why I use the squigglies. Okay? All right. That's the domain and
Is
range.
that the only way you can write range?
Well, you could just say the range is 3, comma 2, comma 1, comma
If there's
0.
specific points, then
But you-
yes, you want to do that.
Yeah, you wouldn't use an interval.
Use, 3 through 0. Like you can't.
No, because I don't know. It's not any of those numbers between. It's just those integers.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could say integer numbers 3 through 0.
Like if it's a line without any points on it, then you can just do the through.
Okay, is this relation a function?
It is a
no,
It's a function.
No, it's not.
no, because
Because-
there's like a bunch of x's. that are
Yeah,
the same.
for one x value, it's mapped to 4 y values. I could visually tell whether it's a function by just doing a quick graph.
Yeah.
-3, 3. -3, 2. -3, 1. -3, 0. Does everybody recognize if I do a vertical line, it's definitely going through more than once?
Yes.
Okay? Not a function. We good? Exactly, it is a vertical line. Okay? Find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So how do we find the y-intercept? What do we do?
You replace the y and the x with 0. Or is that?
Just only one of them.
Oh, what? So you would like replace with x.
Replace what with x? I'm trying to find the y-intercept. What do I do?
Replace the y with 0.
No. What's the x value at the y-intercept?
0.
0, right? If I have a y-intercept means where it crosses the If that's my y-intercept, what's the x value right here?
Oh, 0.
0. So that means to find the y-intercept, I plug 0 in for x. Right? This goes away. Y equals -2. Now to write it, I need to write it as a coordinate point. My y-intercept is that point.
Wait. You would divide the 3 instead of subtract.
I divide -6 by 3 to solve for y. Yep. Please. Okay, how do I find the x-intercept?
The x-intercept. Plug in 0 for y.
Plug in 0 for y. Does everybody see? On the x-axis, what's the value of y everywhere on the x-axis? 0. So I'm going to plug in y for 0 for y. So I get 2x equals 6, right?
Yep.
X equals 3. So I would write the x-intercept as 3, 0. I'm done.
Can you plug in 0 to find the x and y intercepts no matter what form the equation?
Absolutely. Okay. Let's look at this one.
Make that sound.
We're going to graph this one, and we've really, again, when we put a negative in front of that coefficient, it will be a v. But to me, our rules haven't really talked about what that negative in front inside the absolute value does.
It means it goes downwards instead of upwards.
No.
Oh, wait, inside.
Inside. So my advice, if you get a problem like this that you can't really tell what rule you should use, just plot some points. When x is -2, I have -2 times -2 is 4 plus 2 is 6, and it's positive, right?
How are you doing that?
I'm plugging x in and solving for y. I'm picking.
Okay.
Just picking points. Just like when you first learned how to graph a line, they showed you, had you do a table of values. You didn't learn the y-intercept. And okay, all I'm doing is just picking points. Okay, -1. Let's just try these. -1, -2 times -1 is 2, plus 2 is 4. 0, 2. 1,
4.
-2 times 1 is -2 is 0. 2, -2 times 2 is -4, plus 2 is -2, absolute value, +2. Okay, so I'm just going to plot these. -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 2, 1, 0, 1, 0, and 2, 2. So I'm starting to see the V now, right? So I know these points are going to be on this side, then these points, I'm going to go up that way. Now I've graphed it. When you pick your own points like that, it's important that you keep picking them until you see something give you a turn so that you can see the V. If all the ones I picked still had a straight line, I'm not done yet. I've got to figure out where it's going to be, where the vertex is going to take off again.
Is there any other way?
Well, what is this graph of? What did it shift? This is 0. That's the origin.
Shifted over 1.
Shifted over 1.
Why?
Did it shift up or down?
No.
Did the slope change from 1?
Over 1.
Because my point was 1, 0 right here when I graphed it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the same thing as x minus 1. So what could I have done to this function to get this? Divide everything by -2.
Yeah.
Do you not have to divide on the other side?
I'm not changing the value on the right. I'm just dividing through. This is equal to, those are equivalent.
Clicking makes that sense.
So yeah, you could have done that. If I graphed a table of values for this and a table of values for this, I would have ended up with the same graph. Okay, so that is one way you could have done it without using a table of values, is divide both these terms by the coefficient, and it means the same thing. Okay, but if you're ever confused and you can't remember the rules, just do a table of values. Which means you get to pick these numbers.
Yay.
They're not going to be given to you, but you can do that. Just pick some numbers and see if you can start seeing it take its V shape, and if not, then keep picking until you can. Okay? What's the slope of a line that's perpendicular to y equals -3?
1/3.
No.
Oh, wait.
What kind of line?
Zero.
Any vertical line.
Okay, what's the slope of any vertical line?
Undefined.
Undefined.
No, it's
If-
not.
if
I
you
looked
put
it up on
X
Google.
equals-
The slope of any vertical line?
It said 0.
No.
No,
Horizontal line.
Horizontal.
Horizontal lines are 0.
Vertical's up and down.
Okay, y equals -3.
No, the slope is 90 degrees.
So that's 0.
This is a 0 slope. Do you see a rise or a fall? No, it's straight across. That's a 0 slope.
I don't know why I can't.
Okay? If I'm going to draw any line that's vertical, do you see how it's perpendicular?
If you put
Okay.
X equals any real numbers.
Well, no, I want the slope of the line. I don't want the line. What is the slope of a line? So the answer is undefined. The answer is undefined. Any vertical line will be perpendicular to this one, but the slope of any vertical line is undefined.
Trick question, 'cause
I know. No. So that just tells you there's no slope on this one, because this would be y equals 0x minus 3. Right? So that tells you the slope is 0. There's no x value. All right. Use the set of data in the table to answer the following questions. First thing you need to do is draw a scatter plot. So I'm going to go 8, 12, 6, 9,
You could just draw random dots on there and see, like in a V.
10,
Or like, it wasn't awkward, but.
14, 9, 14,
Like that.
7, 11, 10, 15.
No, I promise, like, I wasn't. Like, I was like,
Okay, there's my scatter plot.
Okay.
That's draw a scatter plot for the data. Okay, that's 16. That's all you had to do. Okay. The next question says, use two ordered pairs to write a prediction equation. Well, I'm just going to draw my oval as close as I can to these points. Pick a point at the end and just connect them. Do you see that in this case, my line did not go through any of the table of values?
Yes.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm just saying if it didn't, I didn't have a ruler and my starboard's not quite calibrated with my pen, so it's not perfect. But let's just predict that was my line. Okay?
I was really bad at drawing those lines.
Huh?
Like, what if you're just really
Just
bad
get a
at drawing
ruler.
those lines?
I've got rulers over here, so just get a ruler and draw it. Okay?
Like, I was just off.
So my line is really off. It's not really going through my two endpoints. I'm just going to go with it though, okay? What I'm most interested in is not how well you draw your line, but that you know this process of finding what the equation of the line of best fit is for you, okay? So my line didn't go through any of the points I plotted, so I'm going to find 2 points that it did go through. There's one, and there's one. I'm looking for right there on the grid, so I don't have to guess fractions or decimals. I just want an integer. So I'm going to write those numbers down. 8, 13, and 6, 10. Okay, so it says use two ordered pairs to write an equation. Well, I know how to write an equation if I have 2 points. We've already done that. Find the slope. 13 minus 10 is 3. 8 minus 6 is 2. There's my slope. Pick either one of these points. 10 equals 3 halves times 6 plus b. Well, this is 18 halves or 9, right? So I have 10 equals 9 plus b. Subtract, b is 1. So my equation, there's my prediction equation.
Wow.
Everybody follow? It's just the same as when we had 2 points before. This time I get to pick my 2 points. And my 2 points need to be on my line. They don't have to be on this table. They can be, they don't have to be. In my case, none of those points were on mine, so I just picked 2 that hit the grid. Okay? So now it says, predict this point scored when 20 field goals are attempted. Well, 20 is X. Point scored is Y. There's my equation, so I'm going to put 20 in here. Y equals 3 halves times 20 plus B. 20 divided by 2 is 10, times 3 is 30. Points would be 30. Points. You guys don't have to have the exact same equation. I'm not grading on the equation. I'm grading on the process. I want to see that you showed me the 2 points you found. I want to see that you found the equation. I want to see that you plugged in 20. Then I know you understood that concept. Okay, 18. Student tickets for a football game cost $2 each. Adult tickets cost $4 each. Ticket sales at last week's game totaled $2,800. And all I have to do is write the model. It didn't say solve it. It says write a model that shows the different number of students and adults who could have attended the game. So I'm going to call students S. It looks like a 5, but it's an S. Adults A. And that equals 2,800. That's it. There was no way I could solve it without another equation. They had to tell me, like, the number of tickets sold altogether was 2,000, something like that, so I could have another equation. There's no way.
What I did was I just separated the 2S and the 4A and made them 2 separate equations and solved that.
Well, what did you set them equal to?
Each other.
How'd you make an equation?
I did 2S equals 2,800 and then 4A equals 2,800.
No, because it's a combination of the 2 that equals 2,800. It's not each one separately that equals 2,800.
It's a lot.
Yep. Okay, which one of the following relations is not a function?
The circle.
The circle. Everything else passes the vertical line test. This one's not a function. Does it exist? Yes, circles exist in real life, believe it or not, but they are not functions.
That one. C.
This one? There's no vertical line that I could pass through that I would cross more than 1 point.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, I see.
Vertical line. It doesn't pass a horizontal, but it does pass a vertical. Find the x-intercept and y-intercept. So this is how we graph standard form. We find the x-intercept first, cover up the y, right? Because y is 0 for the x-intercept. So it's 4. To find the y-intercept, cover up x. It's 3. Do not put this into slope-intercept form. You're going to waste time. When it's in standard form, just find the x and y-intercepts. Use the cover-up method. For the y-intercept, cover up the x. For the x-intercept, cover up the y. And solve. Okay? All I need is 2 points. That's it. And I would probably say, what? My x-intercept is 4, 0. My y-intercept is 0, 3. Okay? Real quick, I think I still have time. Find the value of k so that the slope of the line, you had these problems on web work, right? Through 2 negative k and 4 negative 1 is negative 2. So to find the slope of a line, y2 minus y1, right? Does everybody see that? Negative 1 minus negative k is negative 1 plus k. x2 minus x1, and that's equal to negative 2. Okay, so now I've got negative 1 plus k over 2 equals negative 2. We'll put that over 1. What do we do here?
Multiply.
Cross multiply, right? Okay, 1 times all of this is just that. That's pretty handy. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. I add 1, k equals negative 3.
So could we have just multiplied 2 to negative 2?
Yes.
And not 4, and then...
Yes. Yep. And then solved. You would have gotten the same thing. That is the test for tomorrow. This has been recorded. Look for it on Canvas. Yes.